Good morning, and today I have been privileged to talk to you about the power of your environment. Now, just a short time ago, I didn't even realize how powerful your immediate environment was to your success or to your failure. I always believed that the people who were in my immediate environment knew what was best for me. I believed that, what they said and what they done was the exact way to do things and was the right way to success. But then something happened to me. I met Mr. Rome, who I do credit for being my mentor, for showing me that the power of influence, which comes from your immediate environment. He used to say, never underestimate the power of influence. And I took that to heart because I didn't realize how much it affected me. Now, it always reminds me of the time when I was in college. I was never really, I would say, a heavy smoker or a drinker when I got to James Madison in Harrisonburg. That's where I went to college. But when I arrived there, the first night I was there, I was in this whole new world. My immediate environment was people smoking, they were drinking and partying, and it felt like that was the right thing to do. Felt like that was what I needed to do. And so since everybody else was doing it, then it must be the way to go. So that day forward, I became a person who done those same things. I partied, I smoked weed, and I drank all the time. And it was all because I was in an immediate environment that done those things. I mean, it really got so bad that is the reason why I got kicked out of college. Because instead of going to class, I was getting high, I was with girls, and I was drunk all the time. It was not a great time in my life, and I can honestly say it was a time where I hit rock bottom. And I believe in life, you have to experience that pain. You have to hit rock bottom to really see what you're capable of. And when you experience that pain and you experience that suffering, you realize, man, you know what? Hey, I don't want to live like this anymore. And I am grateful for those experiences because it shaped me to be the man that I am today. So without that environment I was in, without that environment that I was in, I would have never learned so quickly how powerful your environment can hurt your chances of success. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. My sole objective is to share with you a couple of things to just show you why your environment is so powerful. And, another reason is how to assess your current environment to make the necessary changes so it helps your chances of success and not hurt them. And so without further ado, but before I get into that, I want to share just a weird question with you. And I want to ask, does anybody know how to train fleas? Do I have any flea trainers in here today? No? Well, today I'm going to teach you how to train fleas. And I learned this from my mentor, Mr. Zig Ziglar, one of the greatest motivational speakers. And so what you do is you take a jar and you place the fleas inside. And what you do, you place a lid on top of the jar. And what you'll notice is that the fleas will jump and start hitting the top of the lid. And it will jump and they'll jump and they'll jump and they'll jump. And they'll continue to hit the top of the lid over and over and over and over. And then after a while, you'll notice that the fleas will just jump high enough not to hit their head. So they'll just jump and jump and jump, just high enough not to hit the lid. And then you can come back just a short time later and take the lid off the jar. And the fleas will jump and they will never jump out of the jar. And I believe that is what happens when our environment, that's what it does to us. We set out to have these grand ideas. We start believing that we can conquer the world. We set our hopes high and we becoming whoever we want to be in this life. And then, like I like to say, life start lifing. We bump our head a few times and things don't go as planned. And then we start to become susceptible to the negative influences of other people who are in our immediate environment. We start to listen to people. And what we do is, they start to say things like this. If I was you, hey, buddy, if I was you, I would probably get another job. If I was you, get a real job. If I was you, that ain't working out for you, ain't making no money, go do something else. And what happens is subconsciously we start to listen to that. And when that tends to happen, we start to give up on our dreams. We start to give up on our aspirations of what we love to do. And this is all because our environment is telling us to do so. And why? Why do we believe it? We believe it because we believe that the people in our immediate environment has and knows best. Our environment, what they do is they put limitations on what we think is possible. See, those limiting beliefs that you have, they just didn't pop up in your head out of nowhere. It starts off when you're a child. Because at first you believe everything is possible. You believe that you can be and do anything you want in this life. And then some things happen to you. And then some person in your immediate family you grow with tells you that it's not. And you believe them. And you believe that you can't do it. Why? Because this is either your mother, your father, your uncle, your cousin, or your friend that you've believed and been with all your life. And you believe that they know best. And sometimes they do. But can I be honest with you? Sometimes they don't. But normally those self-limiting beliefs are from your environmental influences. But listen, those limits are not real. You can do and be and have whatever you want in this life. Don't allow the negative influences of your environment stop you from being who you want to be in this life. You are exactly capable of becoming whoever you want to be in this life. Now, it takes me to my next point, which is your environment, it equals your expectation. And a prime example of this, I was reading a story and I was listening to it too as well. And it was about this young man who was from the Ashanti tribe in the nation of Ghana. And in this tribe, what they do is they name the children by the days of the week. And this young man, he was born on a Sunday. So his name was Akwasi, which meant in his language, godly, kind, peace-loving. And by the craziest coincidence, he was a Christian minister. Now, you have to realize that, that's the expectation that was set up in his mind. Now, those babies who were born on a Wednesday were named Kwaku, which meant violent, aggressive, mean, quick-tempered. And by the strangest coincidence, over 50% of all the crime committed in the nation of Ghana was committed by those who were born on a Wednesday. Now, sociologists, what they say is that the only explanation for this is because of the expectation set up in the mind of the parents. I mean, let's just we're going to imagine it, right? Imagine the parents get the fantastic news. They're having a little baby boy. And they're sitting there thinking of all the things they can do with it. And can you just imagine them say, man, I'm happy we're having a kid, but I hope that baby don't get here on a Wednesday. Like, I don't need him to be here on a Wednesday. You know what they say about people's babies that's born on a Wednesday. I mean, just imagine. Visualize the baby comes and he shows up on a Wednesday. And the first time little Kwaku doesn't do what mom and dad think are best, can't you just hear them both say, well, what do you expect? He was born on a Wednesday. We can't expect nothing else. And then the little Kwaku, what happens? He grows up in an environment where every single day they are expecting him to mess up. They are expecting him to be bad. They are expecting him not to be anything in this world. And so little Kwaku grows up with this expectation. And do you know that they done a survey that all the prisoners in the world, and it said that over 90% of all the prisoners in the world were either told by their parents or someone in their immediate environment that one day they would end up in prison. You have to realize that your environment equals your expectation. And when your expectation becomes your reality, but also in this world, it works as a positive way. Like in the year 1974, the UCLA Bruins are coached by John Wooden, and he's regarded as one of the greatest coaches of all time. The Bruins are on this 88-game just crazy streak of just completely demolishing their opponents. And Notre Dame has this up-and-coming coach. His name is Digger Phelps. And Digger knows that his team is going to be tested by these UCLA Bruins. And he's going up against his opponent, so he prepares his team like every coach does. But after the practice leading up to the game, Digger has his team do something that would surprise most people. And it surprised his team too. He had his team cut down the nets after the practice. Now, if you've ever played basketball before in your life, then you know you don't cut the nets down after practice. You cut the nets down after you you win the championship, or you win the regional, or you win your district. And his players were confused, as they should be. Then the next practice, he had them do it again. And then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and up into the big game. Then that day came, and the mighty UCLA Bruins were upset by Digger Phelps' Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Now, I would honestly be a fool if I told you that the only reason that they won was because Digger had them cut down the nets. But I will say, without a shadow of a doubt, that it was part of the reason. Why? How? Because Digger set up this expectation in the minds of his players. He prepared them to win, and when he had them cut down the nets, he set the expectation in their mind that they were going to win. And so they were in this environment with the expectation of them winning. And once the game came, he already had them they was already ready to cut down the nets. And once they did, I mean, you have to believe that expectation had those players on cloud nine once they won. And I want to emphasize this point. On the lines of expectation, whatever you expect to get out of life, you normally get it. Now, since your environment does these two things. One, it places the limits on what you think is possible. And two, it sets up the expectations about what you think that is possible. Now that you know those two important factors, here's what I want you to do. All right? I want you to take this information. I want you to do what I tell most people to do. Number one is I want you to take an honest assessment of your current environment. Okay? Now, what do I mean by that? See, if you don't take an honest assessment, you'll never know if you're headed in the right direction or not. And a prime example of this, it was a study done by John Henry Fabre. He was a French scientist, and what he done is he took these processionary caterpillars. And the reason why they're called processionary caterpillars is because you will always find them in a procession. They'll be lined up one behind the other. And what Mr. Fabre done is he took these processionary caterpillars, he took the head caterpillar, and he placed it on a flower pot. And what he done is he took the rest of them and put them head to tail all around this flower pot until they made a never-ending circle. And so what happened was he put the food for the caterpillars in the middle of the pot. And the first day went by, and the caterpillars went round and round and round and round. And they didn't reach for the food. And so he knew for sure that the next day they would get hungry and they would get the food in the middle of the flower pot. But that didn't happen. Again, another day, round and round and round. And they never got the food in the middle. It took 7 days, and every single processionary caterpillar had died of starvation and exhaustion. And Ventura, what does that have to do with me? I'm not no caterpillar. I know you ain't no caterpillar, brother. But what I want to say is that's exactly how we are in life as humans. We are in an environment, we allow our environment, instead of thinking for ourselves, and saying, man, is this the right thing I want to do? Is this the right thing I need to do? Is this helping or hurting my chances of success? We just follow who we think that has our best interest in mind. What if one of those caterpillars would have said, hey, man, I'm getting hungry. I see the food right there. We should just go over there and get it. But no, instead, we allow people who think that have our best interests in mind in our immediate environment, because it's, again, our family, our friends, the people that we've grown up all our lives with. We believe that they have our best interests in mind, and we just follow them. But sometimes they don't have your best interests in mind. Sometimes it's best for you to do your own thing. I just want you to think about this for a moment. The values that you have in life, the things that you are doing in your life, is it because that you became to it with your own conclusion, or is it because someone told you that's what you're supposed to do? See, your environment, it has this gravitational pull of keeping you in a place and that is heading in the wrong direction. So that is why you must evaluate and take an honest assessment of your current environment to see if it's hurting or helping your chances of success. And then after you take that honest assessment, this is the hard part, and I know it's going to be the hardest part for most people that I'm speaking to today. The hardest part of you taking that assessment is what you have to do after, because it means you have to take some real action. And this is going to take you distancing yourself from those people that you love so much, which means I need you to start to choose who's going to be in your immediate environment. And again, I told you, it's going to be a hard pill to swallow. I know that's your boy. I know that's your girl. I know that you've been, friends, and that's your family. You've been with them all your life. But once you take that honest assessment, I want you to do this for every individual in your life. Is this person helping or hurting my chances of success? If it's hurting, get rid of them. Simple. It always reminds me of the bonsai tree, and we're just like the bonsai tree. See, the bonsai tree can grow as tall and as much as it possibly can, and it just depends on what environment it's placed in. But that's exactly how we are in life. As humans, we can grow as successful or as unsuccessful as possible. And it's all dependent on who's in our immediate environment. Listen, I know. It's going to be the hardest pill to swallow, to cut off friends that you have known your whole life. But life is all just a series of choices. And if you make the right amount of choices today, then you will always get the right amount of results in the future. Now listen, Dream Achiever, if you don't remember nothing else that I told you today about the power of your environment, I want you to remember this. You are what you are, and you are who you are because of your environment. But the beautiful thing is this: you can change what you are. You can change who you are by changing your environment. And listen, Dream Achiever, the choice is yours. And I know that you are going to make the right choice. Now listen, thank you for your time. Thank you for spending the day with me. And listen, make the rest of your life the best of your life.